So welcome back to our channel. We decided that we weren't going to go anywhere today. I'm really just not feeling that great. And I don't want to be out coughing all over the place and have people thinking I'm going to get them all sick. So
Me too.
Instead, we are going to do a recipe. So this recipe video we're going to do is for Southern sweet potato bread.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read up the ingredients for you guys. I'm going to pause the video and kind of get things set up here, and then we're going to start making the bread. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So the ingredients that you're going to need is 1.5 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs beaten. I think he's trying to get the spices out. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, or you can also substitute 1/2 cup of applesauce. I've done both. It comes out good either way. So hold on. And then you'll need 1 cup of cooked mashed sweet potatoes. And optional ingredients are a cup of chopped pecans, or pecans, however you want to say it. Or a 1/2 cup of golden raisins. I do not like raisins really that much, so I do not put raisins in this bread. I have done the chopped pecans. I've also done walnuts in it. It comes out great either way. Pecans are really good. I just don't have any today, so we're just gonna do it plain, just a plain old sweet potato bread. So yes. What would you like?
I will get the baking powder.
Okay, you can help me with the baking powder. Okay. All right, guys. So give us 1 second. We'll get everything set up here and we will start the recipe. Okay, guys. So one of the ingredients that I forgot to tell you is you also need 2 tablespoons of milk for this recipe. So the first thing we are going to do, actually that's not the first thing we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do, sorry to step away like that. I managed to think that I had all the ingredients together, but I didn't. So I'm going to get this little cutting board mat here. So the first ingredient that we really need is our sweet potatoes. So you need about 1 cup of mashed sweet potatoes. I bought this bag of sweet potatoes, and we've used quite a few of them. But I bought this bag of these little small sweet potatoes from Lidl, and I got 2 left, so I figured I might as well use them up. So I'm gonna grab a knife from over here. Get our knife, and then we'll also get our vegetable peeler. So sorry I have to keep bending down here, but I want you guys to kind of see what we're doing here. Let's see, you can't really see like that, so just keep it like this. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is peel these sweet potatoes. So we'll start to peeling, and I'll be right back when that's done. So I wanted to quickly show you guys something about the sweet potatoes. So you see this lighter colored flesh here? You want to peel that away too. You kind of want to get down to this orange, the darker orange color in here. The reason being is this is going to be the softer flesh of the sweet potato. Look, it's turning a little brown there. We'll have to cut that part off. This whiter part actually is sort of part of the peel still, so it might be a little stringy. So I cut that away, or I peel it away. Anyway, so I'm going to keep peeling here and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I've got my 2 sweet potatoes peeled. I actually ended up taking a bigger sweet potato from a different bag of potatoes because one of the small ones just wasn't good looking. So I'm going to go ahead and chop these up. So I'm going to show you guys. Excuse me, I'm still coughing today. So I'm going to show you guys the size of the sweet potato that I'm going to, or cube that I'm going to cut this into. Make sure you have a nice sharp knife to cut these, and be careful because sweet potatoes, I'm sure all of you have tried to chop sweet potatoes before, but they are kind of tough to chop through, so you got to be kind of careful when you're chopping them. So I just cut them into a half, and then I cut each half into 3 little pieces here. And then I'm going to cut these, see if I can line them up properly, into small cubes here. So this one's a little big. There we go. So see, that's about the size you want, maybe the size of a die or dice, you know, the size of dice. So, and then I'm going to put them in this pan here. Let's see. So I'm going to chop this other one up, and I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, so just chopping up the last little bit here of this sweet potato. And then we're going to add some water to our pan. So we'll get this into this pan here. So let's see, we're losing our pieces here. So this is a small little saucepan here, and this is probably a little more than a cup worth of sweet potato, but it's perfectly fine if you want to add extra sweet potato into your sweet potato bread. So I'm going to go back here to the sink and add some water into this. Okay, guys, I just added enough water. I don't know. Yeah, you can kind of see it. I just added enough water just to cover the top of the sweet potatoes here. I'm going to put it on the burner back here, and I'm going to put it on high and let that boil. So while that is boiling, let's get this out of the way here. While that is boiling, I'm going to bring my big bowl over here. Peeler out of the way too. And we're going to start with our dry ingredients. So we're going to start with 1.5 cups of flour. So let's get this out of here. Get a knife here. Look, I'm going to get flour all over me, but that's not unusual for me. I always end up making a mess when I'm doing things. So my 1 cup measure here. So, and I'm just going to use a knife to kind of even this out here. So there's 1 cup of flour. Sorry about the noise. I like to tap off any extra that's on there. So there's 1. And then
about the noise.
My 1/2 cup. Ah, sorry about the noise. That's right. My 1/2 cup measure here. Oh, measure that one out.
That hurts.
Oh, it hurt? I'm sorry. I hurt your ears, huh? Move that back over there out of the way. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is our 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So I just have this can of baking powder here. So let's see, 2 teaspoons. I have this teaspoon measure. You can go in here, and I love this baking powder because it's got this nice edge so you can level out your baking powder. So there's 1, and here is number 2. So there's that. Excuse me, guys, I have to keep stepping away to cough because I don't want to cough into the sweet potato bread. So that would not be good to be coughing into the food here. So the next thing I need is a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We use kosher salt in our house. You can use table salt, any kind of salt really that you want to use. I would not recommend using sea salt just because those are big coarse granules of salt, and they might not blend in very well. But kosher salt is perfectly fine for that. So then I have this 1/4 teaspoon measure here, and this likes to, I'm gonna lose all my salt here. Oh. So this thing gets salt captured underneath the rim of the cap. So there's probably already like maybe 1/6 of a teaspoon of salt in there, but we're going to measure. There's a 1/4 teaspoon. So there's that. Let's see, what is the next ingredient? 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. So my teaspoon measure does not fit into this nutmeg. Oh yeah, it does actually. Or maybe it's the cinnamon it doesn't fit into. So 1 whole teaspoon, and I do a rounded teaspoon just because I like the spice of nutmeg. So 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, And then it's a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Let's see, let's take this top off of here. So here's my half teaspoon. I usually do a rounded half teaspoon also because who doesn't like spice cake? It's kind of like spice cake, this sweet potato bread. So let's see. My sweet potatoes are starting to boil a little bit, so that's good. Let's clean this mess up here. Okay, so what is the next ingredient? So for this, the sugar is actually a dry ingredient. I know in a lot of recipes, baking recipes, sugar ends up being a wet ingredient because you cream it together with butter, but there is no butter in this recipe. Excuse me again. There's no butter in this recipe, so we're not going to be creaming the sugar. So we're just going to go ahead and put the sugar in with our dry ingredients. So we need 1 whole cup of sugar. So I'm just going to take the same cup measure that I used for my flour, and I'm going to measure out my sugar. Let's see. That's not quite a cup there. I have more sugar in a bag. I just didn't want to open it yet. I wanted to make sure that I used all this up too. But look, this is practically empty. But we've got a cup out of it, so let's see. Yep, so we're gonna dump that in there. Now before we add anything else, because that's basically all of our dry ingredients, so before we add anything else, I am going to actually get a whisk out and kind of whisk it together. You can use a sifter if you want. I find that whisking it works just as well as a sifter, as far as for this recipe anyway, because this kind of works some air into everything here and kind of mixes all the ingredients pretty well. So now it smells good already. I don't know if you guys can hear my pot of sweet potatoes just boiling away over there, which is perfect because I want them to be nice and soft so we can mash them. So this actually smells really good. It smells like cinnamon and nutmeg already. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get out 2 eggs and I'm going to whisk them or beat them together. And then I'm going to add them to my dry ingredients. So go ahead and get my eggs out here. These are just eggs we bought from Lidl. We actually need some more. We've only got 2 left, but I think that'll be a trip for tomorrow because I just decided to stay home today. Let's see.
Yep, we're staying home.
Yep, we're gonna stay home today. So we'll get a bowl here. Another bowl didn't look too great. That's what happens when my husband washes the dishes. That's so... If he knew what I said about him on these videos, he'd be very, I don't know. I don't think he'd be too upset, but he'd probably laugh and think it was funny. Because he knows it's right. Guys, it's true. Alright, let me rinse my hand really quick. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and take my whisk and just beat these eggs together so they're nice and scrambled. Ooh, I'm going to make a mess too. So if you guys are wondering too, yes, I am sick. My son is also sick and my husband is also sick. So, one of us has to cook. One of us still has to run the household. So, you know, I'm not touching any food that I'm going to be sharing with anybody that's not my family and is not sick. So, just so you guys know that, because I know there are some people out there that might be like, oh, she's sick and she's coughing all over the food. I'm not actually coughing all over the food. I am coughing away from the food, but yes, I am sick, so I am still touching everything. Okay, so these are beaten just pretty good. So we'll put this in the sink here, get that out of the way. There's our eggs. We're gonna go ahead and mix our eggs. All you gotta do is you just dump it in. It's not it's not one of those recipes, like I am not a very good baker, let me tell you. It's not one of those recipes that is like temperamental. Some recipes are temperamental. So we're gonna mix that in there. We'll go ahead and get our half a cup of vegetable oil. So I'm gonna go ahead and do vegetable oil today just because I don't have any applesauce on hand. Normally I would actually do the applesauce trick. I think it makes the bread just a little bit lighter, not quite so dense. But the vegetable oil is what the recipe originally calls for. So half a cup of vegetable oil. And see, I'm not stirring or anything, I'm just dumping it in there. It's not, you know, not a big deal to do that. Let's see how much time I have left. I only have like a minute and a few seconds left to do this. I might have to stop and come back and show you guys the rest of it. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and I will be right back to show you guys the rest of the video.
See ya.
Okay guys, look, I still don't have that much time to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and add the milk. So you need 2 tablespoons of milk into this. 2 tablespoons of milk. Get that out of the way. And we use 2% milk. This is the Food Lion brand. We use 2% milk in our house, but you can use any milk that you have on hand. Whole milk, 1%, skim milk, it doesn't really matter. The fat content is not really what is needed in this for the milk. It's really just the wet from the milk is why you're putting the milk in there. So, all right, so let's see. Our potatoes are actually boiled, so sorry I'm off camera right now. I'm gonna grab a colander here. I'm gonna take these sweet potatoes and I'm gonna drain them. And you don't really have to drain them too much, because again, you're still wanting some of that liquid that's in there. So, and I'm going to take this potato masher here to get my masher. Okay, well, let's make this super quick here. So I'm going to mash these sweet potatoes. I keep running out of battery, my camera here. So we're going to mash these up really well. And then I kind of let them cool just a little bit. They're still pretty hot though. But that's not really going to matter too much because I'm going to take these ingredients and mix them together really well before I mix in my sweet potatoes. So let's mix this together really well here. So I just have a big spoon here. I'm just going to mix it together. And this will be pretty... you're going to think it's pretty dry. It's going to be almost the consistency of cookie dough without the sweet potatoes in it. But once you get the sweet potatoes in there, it's going to loosen up. So let's get this mixed together. Okay guys, so at this point I've gotten it, whoops, I almost dropped it on the floor. That would have been good. So it's about the consistency of cookie dough now. So I'm going to take my mashed sweet potatoes here and I'm going to just dump these in there. So let's get this out of the way. And a little more than a cup here. Probably about a cup and a half is what I have in here. But again, like I said, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. And at this point, you probably want to preheat your oven to 325. So, and I've already gone ahead and sprayed my loaf pan with cooking spray. And I sprayed it really well. So I'm going to mix this together. I'm going to keep mixing. Okay guys, sorry, I don't know what that was. So I went ahead and dumped it into my loaf pan and kind of spread it out evenly in here. And then I'm going to, when my oven is preheated, I'm going to bake it in the oven for 70 minutes. So I know, like an hour and 10 minutes. I know that's a long time, but it's at such a low temperature and you want this to bake really nice and evenly. So it's done when a toothpick it's inserted in the center, comes out clean. You want to cool it for about 15 minutes in the pan before you take it out of the pan. And then the best way I've learned is if you want it to taste really, really good, wait overnight, like wrap it and let it sit overnight. The flavors kind of get a little, I don't know what the word is there. Anyway, but the next day it always tastes better than the first day. So that's what we're going to do with this one. So thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more videos. I don't know where Jackson went, but bye guys.